Before the homily, just a brief little story about a Catholic priest, a Baptist minister, and a Jewish rabbi. So they're out, and they're hunting together. They're all buddies. And they put this double dog dare you challenge to one another. Can you convert a bear? So the Catholic priest, he goes off, and so does the Baptist minister and the Jewish rabbi, and they're going to, meet back in a few days or whatever. Catholic priest goes and gives the catechism to the bear, starts teaching the Catholic teachings to the bear. And after that, asks the bear if he'd like to be baptized, confirmed, and receive First Holy Communion. And so it happens. And then the Protestant minister says to the other two, so yeah, I did something similar. I went out and I found a bear and I proclaimed the gospel to the bear. And I asked if he wanted to be baptized, and he did. So I took him down the river. We did full immersion down there. And the Jewish rabbi, who's laid out in a gurney, hospital gurney with a full body cast, said, maybe I should not have started with circumcision. Where I want to start today is with the stewardship of our time. God gives us our time. It's a gift. And it's all for getting to know Him, to love Him, to serve Him in this world, and be happy with Him in His next, and to bring as many along with us to make sure they're using their time well also. That is directly from the Catechism, the old Catechism. Do you guys remember that? The Baltimore Catechism? Why were you made? To know, love, and serve God in this world and be happy with Him in the next, right? All right, so before we get into how we can steward our time, I want to get into these scriptures. But let me start here. You dupe me. Have anyone ever been duped before by anyone else? Anyone else? You've never been duped by anyone? Come on. Someone offers you some advice or suggests you try such and such. It'll be fine. All you have to do is this and that. You do it. You thought you had a good idea there. You had it figured out. Then it all went south. We have those moments. We misjudge and we end up with egg on our face. Or maybe we have questioned God because of things that have happened in our lives. Perhaps like the prophet Jeremiah did in today's first reading from Jeremiah chapter 20. In the previous chapter, Jeremiah was told by God to deliver an unpopular message to God's people. The message was true, and Jeremiah knew that it was good for God's people, would actually help them, but hard for them to hear and hard to follow. Thus he was reluctant, but trusting, so he did it. The message was not well received. Jeremiah ended up in the stockades, mocked and isolated. The Lord's message brought derision and reproach for Jeremiah. However, ultimately, this experience won over Jeremiah's heart and the hearts of many others. This may sound familiar. Let me update it to our times. Jeremiah chose to live his life differently from the mainstream culture. Many in his society were acting in ways that were against the teachings of God and even just common sense and common civility. Jeremiah called them out. As a result, he was called a hater. He was canceled because he didn't follow the culture. He was bullied and told to get on board or get out of the way. How dare he challenge the popular opinions, lifestyles, and positions of the people and the government? How dare he do that? So Jeremiah initially complains to God. And this is how that chapter 20 starts out. You duped me, Lord, and I let you dupe me. You set me up, you tricked me, I trusted you, and this is what I get for it? Nevertheless, Jeremiah in his heart knows God loves him and Jeremiah loves God. He knows that being a follower of God sometimes means one must proclaim God's goodness, even if the people have replaced truth for lies and bad for good. Jeremiah can't hide his faith because he knows God ultimately and intimately. And he is convicted there is no better way than God's ways, even when others persecute him because of his faith. Therefore, the only reason Jeremiah does not get on board with the culture, but stays on board with his faith because his faith and God's love for him are a fire burning in his heart. Listen, living in similar times as the time of Jeremiah, we all hope for this kind of fire, this kind of faith, especially when tough times come our way. We thirst, if you will, thirst for faith, thirst for God, thirst for more out of life than the popular culture is offering. We thirst for more than the lies being forced upon us by political ideologies, social institutions, schools, media, consumerism, and just generally and overall a hedonistic society. The psalm we just sang together, listen to the words. My soul is thirsting for you, O Lord my God. O God, you are my God whom I seek. For you my flesh pines, and my soul thirsts like the earth, parched, lifeless, and without water. Here at St. Francis Parish, there are many offerings for us to quench this thirst in the dry lands that we dwell. So each of us can come closer to Christ and grow in a deeper, intimate relationship with him so we can have that fire, that faith. For only Christ can quench our many thirsts today. Therefore, on this Stewardship of Time Sunday, I want to spend just a few moments to invite you to more God in your life for this coming year. As you might recall, each year at this time, we roll out a variety of offerings to help us spend some of our precious time that God gives us for getting closer to him, to make sure we are indeed good stewards of the time that God offers to us. There are brochures in your pews. I would ask you now to take one. Please, if you're at the end, pass it down to those other people in your pews so that each of us have one. And I ask that each of you take a brochure home with you today so that you can pray about the ways that God is calling us to remember to thirst for him and slake our thirst by choosing at least one offering over this new year to grow closer to Christ. So this is the time in the fall when we launch all kinds of things for people of all ages and all circumstances in life. I'm going to ask you to take this home and you pray with it, all right? And then in 2 weeks from now, I'm going to ask you to bring it back. And you circle at least one for yourself, like if you're an adult, if you have children in your family, you let them circle one. And then if it's 2 or 3, that's great. 4 or 5, even better. And then we'll have a little basket up here at the foot of the altar. And then that will be your pledge to God. That you will pledge to be a good steward of the time that God has given you. That you're not just going to live your life for yourself and for your family and for your jobs and for your pleasures and for your work and all that kind of stuff. You're actually going to give him some of that time. so that he can give you so much more. We're not going to check what you don't need to sign off on it. You don't need to give your name. This is between you and God. This is your pledge. At least one offering. As you do so, remember to be, as it says in the front, be bold and seek the Lord. Just like Jeremiah. For we're all actually called to be prophets today, to call others, not just ourselves, to Christ. So that as you review this brochure, pray about others also, who you can invite to any of these offerings here at St. Francis. Invite them, welcome them, accompany them to more. You might notice, and you go ahead and thumb through this as you're listening, you might notice while you look through the brochure that the categories and layout are a little bit different than the years past. So for instance, as we continue on our discipleship road as individual disciples trying to grow in knowledge and love for our Lord, check out the offerings under Grow and Go. Check out these categories, split out for adults and youth and family. Under it, you will find many of our most commonly known, loved, and impactful opportunities to grow in faith here, such as Walking with Purpose, That Man Is You, Bible studies, youth groups, including new options for our middle school boys and girls. Please commit to starting or continuing your faith journey with one of these many projects for your spiritual life this year. Also notice there is a section for disciple making, with me plus 3. It is perfect for inviting others, like our outdoor adventures ministry, singles ministry, or single parents ministry, and the rescue project. Great on-ramps, if you will, for community building, low pressure, and engaging, which can lead to deeper faith down the road. Additionally, there's a new pathways, or should I say, there's pathways which is new for us. It replaces our old PSR, what many of you used to know years ago as Religious Education for Children, or CCD. It replaces that and is now for the entire family, and it's a combo of at-home and in-parish growth. And you'll be hearing more about this. Invite your extended family too, especially those who have fallen away and don't get here as often as they might like or need. This is putting back into your busy schedule a time when you choose for the week to do this as family, rather than always come when we say. Vocations is another section. Great for those discerning a call to the priesthood, young or older, or consecrated life, and for those who want to better prepare one day for married life. Lastly, our newest section, healing and support opportunities. The lost are everywhere. They're in our families, in our neighborhoods, in our workplaces, and even right here in the pews among us. We will continue to offer support for folks who are dealing with loss, through grieving with great hope and surviving divorce. These are so helpful for those who have experienced the loss of a loved one due to death or through the pain of divorce. In addition, we have some new healing options here at St. Francis. Catholics in recovery. Think of AA, but in the Catholic context and even more. Serving those who suffer from addictions and unhealthy attachments. Sanctuary, mental health. A program to inspire and equip those with mental health challenges and those who love them, to create an environment within our church community to provide support, safety, belonging, and hope. Surrendering the Secret is a confidential off-site post-abortive recovery Bible study and discipleship group led by Catholics who themselves have experienced the pain of abortion. Finally, we will be offering Undone. Undone is a parish women's retreat It'll be facilitated by the John Paul II Center of Healing. They travel around the world and often will give healing conferences to packed stadiums. And they're coming here. We always advise for these types of things, you sign up early because people from around the United States will come to St. Francis just to come to this conference. And it's here. Why would you, as the women of our parish, not want something like this? You don't have to travel across the world for it. Let me end with these thoughts. There is a growing section of our society that does not believe in God. And less people worshiping God in communities on Sundays than in generations past. In fact, than in any generation past. Look at the devastating results in just a few decades, in just the Western culture. Depression and anxiety are off the charts. Suicide, off the charts. High divorce rates, families falling apart, all kinds of addictions, the corruption of our social institutions, the loss of civility, and the list goes on. There are many souls who are thirsting, desperate for God, and the sad thing is they don't even know it. So they turn to all sorts of other things in this world to try to slake their thirst, only to leave them addicted to these things that will never satisfy them. Be bold. Seek the lost. First, acknowledge your own need for God. Be bold. Seek God for yourself and for your loved ones. Take our brochure home with you today. You can register on our Church Center app or on our events page of our website. You dropping this in will not register you. This is your commitment to God, between you and God. But then from that, you can go to our Church Center app or our events page on our website. And of course, every week we have stuff in the bulletin as we roll them out week by week, month by month, and also in our flock notes with links. Choose at least one offering here at St. Francis to quench your thirst in this world and to redirect them to God. We were created to thirst for God. We were created to worship God. If we don't worship Him, we end up worshiping everything else. Then don't forget about the world around you. It isn't just about you and God. Don't forget your own circle of influence around you. Like Jeremiah, you're called to be a prophet. That is, you're called to invite others around you to come to God. And that's what's called me plus 3. This year, work on you and work on 3 others. Drink from the water, from the well that is Christ for yourself. But also, don't forget to offer that same living water, who is Christ, to others. Be bold and seek the lost.